Yes, here we go. It is the P.M.P. We're a wee bit later than normal, 6:30 just gone. But we are here because Celtic played Hearts today at home. It wasn't quite the emphatic result I was hoping for, just to get it right round Stephen Naismith, as I said on Thursday. I know I'm petty, but it's just who I am. I can't help it. But it was a routine 2-0 win that actually brings probably more talking points than I'd originally thought watching the game, because it was pretty routine, I would say. But in terms of things to go over, I posted in the group chat. It was all organised today, so we've got a few wee talking points we can go through and hopefully keep you entertained for the next hour or so. Terry, as always, joins us. Beard's nearly back, mate. Looking great. I thought we were just not shaving at the same period of time, but it turns out I just can't grow a beard, mate, because I don't remember shaving in the last 2 weeks you've been here, but here you are back, fully Roy Keaned up already.
Yep, it's on the way back, Bhoycie.
It sure is, mate. It sure is. Pam, you join us, our resident referee. You were at the CSC watching it. I know the stream wasn't great for a lot of people trying to watch the football today, and I know it wasn't great at your end, but don't worry, the talking points they've got, I'm sure you'll be able to be chipping in with plenty of opinion on as well. Everyone in the live chat, and there is loads of you joining us already. A big shout out to you all. Obviously, please do give us a wee like if you have not hit the like button already. Hit the share button. Hit subscribe if you've not done that already. There's also a wee bell so you don't ever miss a bus. If you want to become a Bhoycie Bus member, like some of you have, it's $1.99 a month, but the content's always free. We've been doing this for years now, and I'm sure everyone who has become a member would say for the amount of content that you're getting, it's a fair price. But again, like I say, we're never going to charge for anything like that. It's just keeping the wheels on the bus, on the road, if you like. But loads of members are in, like so Seamus Weatherall, Wendy Fraser, Smell the Glove, Teresa Lyle, Jim Dolan, the list goes on and on. Right, Terry, I like to come at you with these things because I know you take a particular interest. Oh, piesports.com, 12.5% off. Tasty pastry treats, all that. Yeah, Terry, you always seem to have quite an insight on the lineup or thoughts on the lineup. I'm not as intrigued by it. I'm probably more intrigued by the lineup now because of these P.M.P episodes that we've done for the last 2.5 years, mate, because you've always got a take on them. Today, there was a big call that was always going to be made, and it was obviously, are you going to be that cruel to Bernardo after the performance he put in, or is this a Celtic, a version of Celtic that we've been kind of, championing for the last 2.5 years, you could say, where the competition is fierce. There will be ruthless calls made. Nothing's personal, and we won't be making personal decisions based on sentiment either when it comes to the lineup. Bernardo comes out of the lineup today. Engels comes in on the back of obviously making, I think, his Belgian debut midweek and all that on a high. Our club record signing. He gets man of the match. He scores, so it looks like it's paid off. But what were your initial thoughts when you seen that Bernardo had, unluckily, no two ways about it, lost his place in the team?
Well, everybody gets man of the match on their home debut. I think that's a given. But I think Bernardo can feel pretty hard done to, if I'm honest. But I don't think this week's the right week to gauge anything, because as we've seen many a time after the international break, players have been traveling all over the world. They've had different levels of game time. I don't know exactly who was playing where and what game time they had, but I know Bernardo played, and I assume, given that he's nearly as old as me and he's still playing for the under-21s, I assume he got quite a bit of game time for them. It might just be a case of he maybe had a lot of minutes during that 2 weeks, and that comes into the thinking. And even in terms of the performance, Bhoycie, we've seen this so many times after coming back, because the squad hasn't been together. The players are only starting to drip feedback on Thursday. They're jet lagged. They probably haven't done a lot on Friday, a little bit on Saturday, and all, not even a little bit on Saturday. You've got the game on Saturday. So these games can be a bit disjointed. I thought we were all right in the first half. I thought we were better in the second half. I don't think we hit the heights today that we did in any of the previous games, but I'm always prepared to give a bit of the bye ball, and I think there's plenty of mitigation. If you look across all the leagues, all the major leagues today, I'm pretty sure you'll see strange results, and that is a trend that happens after the international break, because squads are just decimated. They're split up. The manager has no opportunity to work with his players. Some of the smaller teams who won't have players away playing international. They've got 2 weeks to prepare for one game, whereas Brendan Rodgers probably just has his pre-match team talk, given the amount of players that are away. So, but I think Wednesday night will be interesting to see what the starting lineup is. I think the starting lineup on Wednesday night will be what the manager thinks is his first 11 right now.
Fair enough. Well, we'll get to that. We will get to the Champions League one. I don't want to jump the gun too much, if that's all right, mate, because I do want to talk about...
I'm not jumping ahead. I'm just sort of saying that today's probably one where I wouldn't just completely gauge the lineup as being, meaning that Engels is ahead of Bernardo, Hatate is ahead of Bernardo. I think they've all been away. They've all had different sort of experiences over the last couple of weeks. The rest of the team now pretty much is as probably what we would expect and what I think is the manager's strongest lineup, including Kyogo, who didn't have his greatest game, if I'm being honest, and didn't take the opportunities that presented themselves.
Those killer opportunities.
But Bernardo was superb against Rangers, and if it is a case that in the manager's head he's number 4, then it can feel pretty unfortunate that he didn't get a start today.
Well, I think that's a good way of summing it up, and I like what you're saying there as well. Like, don't read into it like this means that the pecking order's been decided, Pam. I think as well, the first prerequisite of the manager is to pick a team that thinks is going to win the fucking football match in front of him. That's like, it might sound really simple, but that has got to also be in your thinking, as well as then combining that with juggling upcoming fixtures and what they've been up to midweek, etc. prior to that, particularly in the back of an international break, as Terry was alluding to there. I've got no sentiment in these calls that get made. I just think it's finally looking like we've got tough decisions to be made on a footballing level. And as Terry rightfully says, see if the manager's got little time after the international break, that means we've got a lot of internationals. That's how I want Celtic to look as well. These are all the first world problems that we're looking for the best version of Celtic to sort of be having. I think, if you want to add the wee personal touch on it, you would go, yeah, it's a bit shit for Bernardo, but such is life when you're playing for what we want Celtic to be, and that is an elite club that is going to compete for all domestic honours, not just compete. We want them to win every domestic honour and expect them to. And when they don't, it's more of a shock than when they do. But also be able to combine that with making real strides in Europe now. And the squad, when you see decisions like that getting made, looks to me more like a version that Brendan would have had in mind when he came back. This is the sort of competition we're looking for, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I agree with what both of you have been saying. It's pretty much impossible to judge based on this match when it's right after the international break, because we have had a lot of our players go on international duty, which is, I think it's a marker of a good team. People are look, so we attract these international players. I believe Paulo Bernardo, he is the captain, I think, of the under-21s. So, it's a good marker, but also I wasn't really too surprised at the lineup as well, because when you have a lot of international players who, they're away on duty, you don't know who's getting a hi. You don't know who's getting a knock over the break. Even though if they don't publicize the fact it's injury, you don't know who could have gotten a knock. These little things, they also come to account. So for me, there's just too many variables to, make an accurate statement about today's lineup. I think when we get to next week, then we'll definitely see who's more in the solid starting 11. But I agree with especially Terry.
See, despite everything I said, Bhoycie, I think that'll be the starting lineup on Wednesday night.
You think it'll be the same? You think it'll be the same?
I do. I think it will. Man.
I think that's interesting. We've got a wee comment for Smell the Glove, regular viewer and a member. So nice to have you on, as always, Smell the Glove. And he's saying he thinks Bernardo to start on Wednesday, and it'll be Hatate who was benched. Now, we'll get in at the game. On that basis, I mean, this is the thing. It was so tricky to describe how Hatate played against Rangers without sounding negative by saying he was the third best midfielder we had. I thought it was a good overall team performance. I just thought the other two midfielders were better. And it's hard now when you're doing these podcasts for folk not to think you're jumping on then, and slagging off, the player who you would say was maybe third best out of three. But it's generally, I don't think he played badly. Today's performance, not so keen on, if I'm honest. And I would say, if I was to pick one out of the three, I think he'll be the most vulnerable to a switch. But again, I take your point. It wouldn't surprise me if they go all three. We will look ahead more to the Champions League towards the end of the show. Terry, we may as well get stuck into it with today's game, because obviously it hinges on 2 penalty calls. Now, I look at the Liam Scales one. The refs made the decision there because Liam Scales' arm is in an unnatural position. The VAR team have looked at it, not fancied making the call, and want the referee then to kind of look at it again and make his final decision, rather than almost completely overturning it themselves, which they can do. The ref goes over, changes his mind. Now, if I'm being honest, I thought it was a harsh penalty, but that's not really the question. It's either is it a penalty or is it not? And we've said this a million times in the show, and I'll say it again. Other way around, you see that slowed down, which would be all over Celtic Twitter, for example, your Lints and all that of the world. How is this not a penalty? And you would watch it through the week, time and time again, appear in your timeline and go, we're getting screwed here. Look where his arms are. Now, I appreciate his reaction time to when the ball comes towards him is minimal, and therefore that's why they've based the decision on not giving the pen. But his arm's in an unnatural position, period. So therefore, when the ball goes towards it, the arm being in an unnatural position means it's in an unnatural position already for it to strike it. So therefore, I would be feeling pretty hard done by that decision wasn't defended. Now, people may disagree with that and think that that's not the right call, and the reason that they reviewed it is to get to the right decision. I mean, there's an interesting take here for Condors, and I've seen a bit of this. It's hit his shoulder, not his arm. I seen someone arguing on Twitter that it was his upper arm that hit. I'm not quite sure what that means. Is the arm the elbow down? Is handball the elbow down? I'm not so sure on that one. But
I think it was above the t-shirt line.
Right. Okay. It gets a bit fuzzy there. For me, if it was just let's hypothetically, Terry, go with what I'm saying, that if your arm's in a unnatural position and there's no reaction time, then my argument, I'm glad it went the way it did, by the way. But if it were me, I'd be saying, well, if his arm's in an unnatural position already, then the ball's striking it, whether it's 5 yards time or not. Why is his arm in said unnatural position? Because it's not the ball that's influenced that. That's the player who's got his arm in their natural position. I think there's two sides to it. I just feel that I like to always take a step back and ask myself, how would I feel the other way around? And I would generally be pretty fucked off, I think, if that was overturned the other way. And I know there'll be examples. People will use the Scottish Cup final one, where they say, oh, we didn't get our penalty then. But I don't think everything is like for like. Each situation is unique to its own. And I just try and put myself in the other side's option. And I thought it was a bit harsh on them, albeit delighted that it was made. What are your thoughts on it?
Okay, so I don't think that's a penalty. I've never ever thought that's a penalty at any stage in my life watching football. However, 5 years ago, it's definitely not a penalty. Last season, that is a penalty. We've seen loads of examples of penalties against us and against other teams for us where that's a penalty. So when I seen it in real time and I said to my dad, that's going to be a penalty. And he didn't see it. And the referee gave it. Now, once he's given it, I do not expect that to be overturned. Do not expect it to be overturned. His arm is outstretched. My eyes told me it hit his arm. Now, Scales hasn't a clue where the ball is, by the way. If you look, he's turning around, he's looking, and we'll touch on the Hearts one. The Hearts guy knows exactly where the ball is. Scales hasn't a clue. He's looking around, and the ball has hit his hand. Now, I don't think...
There's your argument, though, because then you go, but he does have a clue, and he defines where his arms are.
That's
the difference.
I think the reason that's been overturned this season, that wouldn't have been overturned last season. There has been a change in tact, and I'm not sure who. I'm guessing it might have been Willie Collum or in his new role or whatever. But there has been a communication that the proximity of the player to the ball when the incident happens, will be taken into account, and there will be some mitigation. So if you are right beside the other player and he smacks it against your hand, then that's going to be that's not going to be a penalty in the same way as we've seen last year and probably the year before since VAR has come in. So there is a marked change in the goalposts.
So does that then take over precedence, Terry, on whether your arms in an unnatural position, which is obviously one of the other kind of key indicators on whether a penalty is given or not? A penalty is based on it often. That's one of the first things you'll hear a commentary team say, and obviously now when we're getting more feedback throughout the season, you'll hear arm in unnatural position. So is it then the proximity and the time the player has to react that outweighs whether he had his arm in an unnatural position or not? Because there's got to be the other side of it where you go, well, what way does one weigh more than the other in the referee's thinking? If that's the case, they could spell that out, couldn't they?
I don't think once he's given it, I don't think there's enough to overturn it. I genuinely don't. And I think Hearts fans, looking at the two penalties over the piece, they'll feel hard done by. And I can side with them. I mean, the Celtic one's definitely a penalty. It's an absolute stone waller. And I had to laugh at the young fella because he said my arms were in here. They were in there, but they were in there about 5 seconds after they were out there. So the Hearts one, or the Celtic one's a stone waller. The Hearts one, I'm torn. And I think the problem is, Bhoycie, I think we'll see probably, let's say in the next month, you'll see a penalty given for the same thing. And I think that's the problem. And that's why it's a very difficult question to answer, because there's absolutely zero consistency. We've seen this since VAR's come in. Sometimes they're given, sometimes they're not. Nobody really knows. And it'll just be interesting to see if that same scenario comes up next week, the week after, even in the European game. How's that scenario going to be dealt with? And I just think you're just going to see no consistency whatsoever, and we'll keep having the same conversation. We'll go, well, what is a penalty? What is a penalty anymore?
Yeah, I always get the vibe as well, just quickly on that with the European stuff, that's usually more my gauge as to what a penalty does look like and doesn't look like. Kind of thing. That's like normally go, that's probably closer to what it is in terms of definition, because these referees tend to be like picked for the bigger games because of a higher standard. Notwithstanding it though, Pam, like, let's take the decision away because we've had that debate now. But I want your take on this. When a referee makes a call like that, and it takes that long for VAR then to put the referee, let's forget it was this decision, any decision, and it takes VAR that long to then decide for the referee to go re-referee his decision essentially and look over it again. Is there already, by default, a premeditation in the referee's mind he's going to change his call? I think the amount of times a ref then goes over there and then overturns his own decision must be, let's say, minimum 70% of the time. Minimum. I think probably more. See if it's taking you that long to get the ref to go over and check it. Is there an argument then to say, we've had a look, we ain't sure, up to you if you want to look at it again? And maybe the ref goes, no, I've made my mind up. I was right there. I've made the call. Because I do feel once, it's almost pantomime when he goes over at the screen and he watches it. Because my gut instinct anyway told me that as soon as he goes over to the screen, that tells you he's going to change his own mind. And I thought the referee was shite today, by the way, incidentally. But I think we need to look at it as well from the other point of view and go, they're undermining their authority by constantly whenever, and if VAR aren't sure that quick, then, and you're saying the ref over there, it tells you there is subjectivity to it. And I really think, the ref should be going over to that screen to go, look, you got it wrong, mate. Go just double, like, I'm just sending you over there so you can see for yourself you've got it wrong. But clearly the time that was used in between the initial decision and by the time the refs actually overturned it, that tells you there's grey areas there that they're not sure. And I do feel a referee's then authority in real time is slightly diminishing and being slightly undermined. Many will argue that's a good thing because the referees aren't up to scratch. But I do think it does lead you into muddy waters with, what is their role on the field? And really, almost every critical or even close to critical decision going to need to be re-refereed and re-refereed again. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I hear you. For me, in a match, the referee is the highest authority when it comes to implementing rules on the pitch. I've always used VAR as like a support figure. a place where you can see different angles that the referee can't necessarily see with his naked eye. If I was a referee and I had VAR looking over, a potential decision, and they were taking around 3 minutes to do so. It was something.
I would agree with that. Yep.
They took 3 minutes. If I was waiting there for 3 minutes, I'd feel two things. Firstly, I'd feel incompetent because I think, what have I missed? And then I'd be thinking of all the potential things that I missed. I'm like, oh, did this happen? Did that happen? And I think just going to psychology, that could probably mess you up for a little bit, maybe make you too heightened of things that could have potentially happened versus just honing in on what you've seen firsthand. Now, the fact that it took the VAR team so long to even just deliberate about it before sending him back to the camera, that's what I have a problem with. I have no issues with the ref going to the box and reviewing the footage, but there's something that doesn't sit quite right with me. And I do believe it kind of undermines the authority of the referee to a certain extent, because I do believe the VAR should run efficiently. And what I mean by efficiently is maybe 30 seconds maximum. In my opinion, they should already be having very clear eyes on the action that's happening, especially around the box, especially when you have so many players and there's just something is bound to happen. You should already have a really good idea of the situation at hand from many different angles, so that maybe you take 20, 30 seconds to confer among people in the VAR room, and then boom, there's your decision. You should not be starting from scratch, having to take your thumb out of your arse and be like, okay, now we have to look at this. Let's
say, Pam, that's not what happened. They did see it in real time, and they've then still had to watch it that many more times. 3 minutes, you said, and I think you're not far off the money there, because they're still that unsure. I think then it should go back to just revert to the original decision that was made. I want, like, if it were me, and I just wonder that they're really not sure, and because they're not sure, they say, ref, go look at it, but we're kind of leaning at you changing your mind because we're not sure. I would rather the ref was going over to that screen going, you've got it wrong, but just go see for yourself that you've got it wrong, and then you obviously make the call, make the right call this time. I get the feeling when it takes that long, they weren't sure either, and the ref his whole influence is then undermined. And you're right, probably the rest of the game, you're not going to go and have a brilliant performance, are you, on the back of that, Terry? I mean, let's say he's incompetent anyway. That's fine if that suits everyone's agenda. But in the actual terms of how that would then be in your mindset for the rest of that 90 minutes, come on, of course it plays a part. Of course it does.
Well, you say he wasn't a referee I recognised. He hasn't done very many matches. And put yourself in his shoes. He's been called over, so already there's then doubt in his mind. He's
after 3 minutes though.
Somebody else is telling him, we think you've got this wrong. He's not one of the renowned, shall we say, or the referees that normally referee at Celtic Park.
But look how long he spends at the screen, Terry.
55,000 people there.
But mate, they weren't definitive as that. I don't think they've said, we think you've got it wrong. I think they've asked him to go make a decision, watch it a few more times, because he then spends an age at the screen himself. This isn't that definitive what I'm talking about, where do you know what I mean? It seemed awfully grey.
Yeah. Yeah, I genuinely didn't expect it to be overturned. And on everything we've seen the last 2 years, I think it's a penalty. It'll be interesting to see over the next weeks and months whether we see that being given or not given.
Definitely.
What do you make of this? Bhoycie, I think the thing about it, and what this game did, we've talked about it on the P.M.P so far. This is the first game where there's been any level of stress at all. And there was a level of stress because the game's 0-0 at that time. You think you've given away a penalty. There's a chance that Hearts are going to go 1-0 up against you. And this is the first game where everything hasn't just been plain sailing. And I think it's good, given again the backdrop that I've said around the international stuff. I think it's good that we've got the job done. It probably ranks number 5 in the 5 league games that we've done so far, but we've got the job done. And again, looking at scores around even in the UK, Liverpool lost at home to Forest today. Man City struggled at home to Brentford. Brighton didn't get points. it's a strange weekend after internationals and the strange results. And if you look around all the leagues, you'll see where teams haven't got the job done, and Celtic got the job done. Celtic got the job done. It wasn't sparkling, it wasn't magnificent, but it was job done.
That was the most important thing.
Absolutely.
Whilst we're talking about the referee, when we may as well go into the second decision, then we can talk about Engels scoring the penalty and McCowan's goal and stuff. But just whilst we're on the referee thing, so don't want to go back to it. We've got then, it's Penrice. I mean, I've then got to be brutal and say I think he should walk. I think people forget, and I thought he could have had a booking before he got his booking. He then gets his yellow card, and I think, right, he's a bit touchy, and it was a couple of fouls on Engels. Both are on Engels.
He got found a lot today. He was in the deck a lot, Bhoycie.
Oh, mate, this is Stephen Naismith tactics, mate. But I'm not being like even just pit, like it is him to a T. He's going, make sure you leave a marker, the new wee bastard, and let him know he's in Scottish football, yada yada. Or sharpen with your Leyland Scott hoodie, you dick. You know what I mean? Just wear your Hearts fucking training top and stop trying to like look like you're a fashion symbol out of USC, a bellend. You know what I mean? But anyway, I think he's definitely told the players to leave markers. Leave markers on the new boy. He'll not like it. Rough him up a bit. Penrice does it twice. He's got a yellow, 2 arms in the air. There is that lack of close proximity, right? So it almost looks like the hand slightly moves to the ball as well, or both hands do. To me, it looked a far more obvious penalty to give. Ironically, of course, the referee, and I do think the previous one plays its part, as we've alluded to, doesn't give that one. That's because he's all over the shop by then. And I'm not saying he was a great referee anyway, but I think we've got to be fair and go, that first penalty decision clearly is the reason he doesn't want to give that one, because he's looked like a fanny once, right, and had to overturn it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's so blatantly obvious that's why he's not done it. But, of course, then it leads you to VAR overturn 2 decisions in Celtic's favour. The second one, to me, is a penalty. You want to talk about the last 2 years, Terry? Any fucking year that's a penalty.
Yeah,
right? Any year. It is. It's Stonewall. But because of what we've just discussed for the last 10 minutes, that's led the referee to making the wrong call. And then, again, we have to have that anxious wait. But I think we're all in unity here. Like that was a Stonewall penalty. Of course, it sounds biased because it was in favour of Celtic. Yeah. We've just debated in the most balanced manner, and probably any Celtic pod will, how the other penalty might not have went our way. So I think it's fair to say when we're giving this one, we're being balanced as well. It just happened to be that was a penalty.
Yeah, it's a Stonewaller. The only surprise is he didn't get a second yellow for deliberate.
Yeah, I'm glad you agree with that.
Deliberate handball.
Yeah. Pam?
Yeah, that was a Celtic player and it was a penalty against us. I bet, fair enough.
Yeah, great way of putting it. And what about that on that yellow card? Second yellow?
For me, yeah, absolutely. Deliberate handball in the box. Is that not a booking?
Yeah,
I thought that. Right, cool. Let's talk about Engels then. Just turned 21, Belgian international now we've got. Celtic's record fee. It's been quite a whirlwind 2 weeks for him. He signed for us at 20, then your 21st birthday. We always remember your 21st for some reason. It's a big one. He then makes his Belgian debut. Did he make his Belgian debut? He was called up anyway.
He did. He made his debut last weekend.
I knew that. Teddy. That's it. Kills you like with the penalty. Listen, we've talked about it a million times, big man. Fucking what practice do they do on penalties? What's the environment that changes so much when it comes to taking one with 60,000 fans begging you to score it that makes it so difficult? Yet penalties have been an Achilles heel of Celtic over the last fucking as long as you can go back to, really. I mean, they've always been far trickier. It feels like, anyway, maybe just because we watch our football more, it feels like we've never been as consistent at scoring a puck with Big Sutty. He was the best. I think he missed 1 out of 13 or something. But this guy's, for him to be allocated that, is that...
Well, here's the question, Bhoycie. Was he allocated it because there was a scenario where Rio Hatate had the ball and Callum McGregor came and took it off Rio Hatate and gave it to Engels?
Yeah, because that tells me he was allocated then. Because McGregor's going to follow protocol, mate. He's not going to make impulsive decisions on field. I don't think. What do you think?
If you would expect Brendan Rodgers being as meticulous as we believe him to be, that's all sorted out before you go on the pitch. Why is Hatate then going and getting the ball? If the order is known before everyone goes out on the pitch, why is Hatate going and grabbing the ball?
I've seen it a million times with a million players, mate. He just wants it, he fancies it, and I'm not. Let's be honest. You can look at the most authoritative managers you've ever had. Are you honestly telling me they've not always had designated first choice penalty takers, and other guys have went, "I'll take it." Normally, it's when they're the fouled player, I would say.
Well, then, if Engels is now the designated penalty taker, and that was agreed before the match, what's happened there? Is it just a case of you're the new guy in, you've never missed one, you're on them? None of us can score them. You're on them.
It's an interesting, but maybe it's a special because we were told he's obviously the corner kick taker instantly as well.
Yeah, a lot of set plays. I've noticed that.
He's obviously been given roles of responsibility as part of the package that they've sold to him to join Celtic. The penalty one's interesting, Pam, because we don't have a great record with him, to be honest with you. Despite our dominance over the last 4 or 5 years, I find it baffling the pressure that we seem to level upon ourselves when it comes to taking penalties. And the youngest signing we've made, albeit record signing, on his home debut, comes up, starts the game, and the first time there's a penalty, he's the one to take it. As Terry rightfully points out, as proven by the captain, this is your responsibility, mate. I don't know. I don't see any way, shape, or form Calmac goes off piste and off page, particularly with the game at 0-0. I just don't see that. I do imagine other players they'll want and just fancying taking a penalty and impulsively go and give me the ball. Maybe not even aware. Maybe it was a conversation just between Calmac and Brendan and Arnie. And maybe that was it. Like, if we get a penalty, by the way, Arnie's taking it, make sure he gets the ball. And Hatate wasn't aware. Not everything's always as, mischievous as it looks or whatever. But in terms of cool, calm and collected, that was the definition of it, was it not? And this wasn't to make the game 5-0 and cement your man of the match display that you're going to get anyway for your starting home debut, as Terry says. This was under pressure. Cool as you like. More of that, please.
Indeed. And I'm sorry, I want to apologize for any background noise if it gets too much on mute. No, I agree. I think there definitely was a plan. Brendan, he strikes me as somebody who wants to have every scenario he can possibly be planned out. I agree with you that I don't know the extent to which the plan was implemented, whether Hatate actually knew. But for me, actually, before the summer, Matt O'Reilly was my main penalty taker, then Adam Ida too. So I'm not really too sure how Hatate kind of knew himself as the main penalty taker, but maybe I just missed that. I think it was probably just a little like one of the chains of communication just fell off, and it was something quite minor like that. I mean, he handed over to Engels pretty well, and he scored a beautiful one right in the bottom right corner of the goal.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Cool as you like.
That's interesting there, but the guys are saying.
Yeah, there's a lot of comments coming in. I want your thoughts on that. So a lot of people are now suggesting, Terry, that basically what's happened is Hatate's picked up. Rodgers has kind of said he was supposed to take it, but they've gave it to Engels. Now, that contradicts everything I've opened the show up with.
Yeah.
We've not got time for sentimentality when it comes to this. It's particularly 0-0. I don't get that. I think there's some sort of that there's not, but this isn't the full truth here. There's more to this than we're getting told, because there's no way.
That happen, Bhoycie. You see that happen when you're 4-0 up and you give it to the new guy
exactly
to get on the score sheet. Now, here's the thing.
I don't get that.
Here's the thing.
I think there's feelings being protected here. And I think Calmac's told Hatate that Engels is on them. Hatate naturally has to give him the ball, does it so without causing any drama, which is cool. And then that's basically the law of the land. And Rodgers goes, oh, well, Hatate was number one, but he gave it to Engels. Technically, that means you've told Calmac Engels is number one, but you've not told Hatate.
Bhoycie, let's look at the timeline. Engels arrived in Glasgow on the Friday before the Rangers match, and he played in the Rangers match, and then he cleared off for 2 weeks. He's probably only come back yesterday. It's not as if he showed up in training that he's a competent penalty taker. He hasn't been at the club. He's only been there about 2 days from when he signed. So it's a strange one. It'll be interesting to see who takes the next one. I'm sure it'll be him after the way he took that one, but I don't know. Something didn't look right, and you just whenever you again go back to our horrible record, but whenever you see there being a bit of a question mark over who's taking it, you automatically think he's going to miss this. I totally expected him to miss it. I really did.
Pam, it's not a testimonial today, so I struggle to subscribe with it being, it's his debut. See that game again at 0-0 against them, like it just doesn't happen. I feel there's been a decision made between, what's it they call it, the leadership groups, all that shit now at football clubs, and that'll be a Brendan Kilmack decision. They know about it, and Engels knows about it. And Atati, he's hardly one for confrontation. He's went, oh, okay, no bother, there's the ball. So it looks like he's giving him it as well, but I would guess that's the first Atati knew that Engels was to take it. I struggle to accept that Brendan Rodgers is doing nicey things at that stage. This is business at the end of the day, and a decision's been made. I just don't think Atati was quite in the loop with it. But albeit that sort of penalty taken, he's now just give him the ball now every time. Clearly that's the intention anyway, Pam.
I completely agree. I think, unfortunately, that is our penalty strategy, is who does it right once, you can do it the rest. I think we had that with Ida as well a bit, second half of last season as well, when he scored the penalties against him. Like, okay, I guess he's our new number one or number two. I think that's just how it goes. I think there was no maliciousness with Hattadi today. I'm agree with you guys. I just think he simply didn't know and just corrected the mistake as soon as he could.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fair. And there's Terry listening to Mo, who's in the chat, and he said, Terry, get the optic.
Right on cue. Right on cue.
Right on cue, mate. Right on
Here,
cue.
Bhoycie, is there a leadership group in the Bhoycie Bus? I assume I'm not in it.
No, mate, it's just me. Just me, mate. Just me.
You're not in it. There's a leadership group. You're not in it.
Yeah. It's just me who knows about it. Put it this way, I think if there was a penalty, I would grab the ball and Phil would come over, take it off me. Phil would take it off me and give it to David Logan or something like that, and be like, fucking, nobody told you, boys, say fuck off, mate.
Terry, what are you drinking?
Pam, vodka monster.
Vodka monster.
Oh, class.
That's my go-to.
These are going to have their work cut out for them today.
Oh, she's got the cards ready and all. There's no curly wordies. There's no chocolate bars of any
No. That was class. That was absolutely class. Don't worry about it.
No. I like this. Cards may be required. You never know, Terry. You never know.
I've always had the cards. That wasn't just a one-off. Don't worry.
No, that's why you're here, Pam. That is why you're here. I don't know what Terry's watching.
Aston Villa come back from 2-0 down and 3-2 up.
Who are they playing?
Everton. That's Everton for the second game in a row.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares.
Well, I had to watch it because you changed the time on me yet again.
Me?
Pam.
It was my fault.
There you go. Yellow card for you, Pam, not me for a change. Right, okay, let's get back to it. He comes on. He's excited as all. We've all got this mad good vibe about him. My prediction is, I think in the 8 games that we have in Champions League, he will start one. I'm telling you, he is going to evolve in his career at such a rate that forget the fee, just treat them on merit what they do in a Celtic shirt. And Luke McCowan will start a Champions League game for Celtic this season. That is my prediction. He makes that whole goal that he scores. He's inside his own half when he initially gets it. Nice couple of wee neat passes, spreads the play. Then once he's in there, Craig Gordon should do better, but we've seen Craig Gordon do that a good few times over the years. I just couldn't be happier for this guy. And it's not now. This isn't about the sentiment stuff. This is now about attitude. And it's also watching the guy on the ball who plays like he's taken the confidence of being, people could demean being Dundee captain all you fucking want. See the team we're playing against today, for example. That was as big a game as he's playing in the season as the likes of Hearts and things like that. He's excelled at that level. And the reason that when you then move to Celtic is to maintain that level and then try and reach greater heights. But against this sort of opposition, this is what he does. And this is what he's done that's merited the move in the first place. And I think when it comes to terms of adapting to how we play or adapting to the sort of nature of the SPFL, he doesn't need any of that. It's just how we play needs to adapt to a wee bit. But honestly, mate, just looks so confident, composed on the ball. Terry, that goal was a design by Luke McCowan, right up to the point where he obviously hits his shot for the edge of the box. And again, you want to talk about if Ingles getting a penalty in his home debut gives him confidence going forward. Well, what the fuck does that do for Luke McCowan? Your debuts against Rangers. I keep saying home debut for Ingles. We played Rangers at home, didn't we? Just ignore me. Right? His starting debut. That's what I mean to say. Luke McCowan's first 2 games are one against your rivals you're trusted to come on in. Right? Which, again, isn't sentiment. Is you're here on merit. We need you to provide a certain role for the remainder of this match. Today he comes on again. It's 1-0 against Hearts. This isn't coming on to sort of get you bedded in. This is getting you on to make sure you have some sort of influence in this fixture. And as if possible, get us over the line here. Make it to do something that gets us to that cushion of a lead. Well, boy, does he do that. And he absolutely deserves all the kudos for it. A goal of design by Luke McCowan, scored by Luke McCowan. All his best bits, mate, I think just kind of captured in that goal. He is an exciting signing.
Obviously, forget the fee, forget where he came from. Celtic supporters, to a man, trust this guy because they've seen him and they know that he's the real deal. He's good enough to be at Celtic. I listened to his press conference that he did. I think it was it earlier this week. They done a couple day after day. They done McCowan and then they done Engels. But see, listen to McCowan, and I love talking about Tommy Burns, but it just reminded me a little bit. I'm not comparing him to Tommy Burns, but just the way he spoke, you could see it in his face. You could see the glint in his eye. This guy's just a fan that's got lucky. That was Tommy's famous sort of catchphrase or mantra, a fan that got lucky. That's what I see in this guy, and for it to happen to him when he's 26, and he was talking about that a couple of years ago. He was thinking of going back and just doing a normal job like the rest of us do, because he didn't see that he was going to make it in the professional game. I think he's got a big part to play for us. I have absolutely no problem if he starts games, he comes off the bench, whatever. I think this guy's ready to play for Celtic, and he'll make a contribution this season. And for him to score on what's only what's he had across the 2 games? He's probably only had about 25, 30 minutes, and he's ready off the mark. He's got a goal, and he had a good goal record for Dundee as well. I know he took penalties, but he scored a lot of goals for them as well. I expect McCowan will come on. If he's fit, he'll play. If he's fit, he'll play some part in every game this season.
I think it's fair to it. And do you know what's so mad? How everyone's changed in football so much, Pam. Do you know one of the grievances that you were seeing at the time when we were initially linked with him? And I think Terry's probably right now to a man, now he's in. There seems to be a change in the sort of mindset on him, and he does seem to have the will of the support as a whole. But when the first link started, do you know one of the main reasons that people weren't inspired? He's 26. 26! Like, I mean, that tells you he's someone who's coming in then ready for this, that you're maybe not needing to categorise as project stuff. That is, worked his way up through an apprenticeship, if you like, in terms of Scottish Football 1. He's had to work his way up through the ranks and get there. But at 26, he comes as maturity-wise ready-made, experience-wise domestically ready-made. These are advantages signing a 26-year-old. But it's so funny how I remember when we signed, and I know I've went back to this a few times on the channel, so I do apologise, but I remember we got Paul Hartley. He was 29, just about to turn 30. Barry Robson, 29 years old. He just turned. These guys, I don't remember ever us going, I think we wanted them maybe early. We said, oh, we should sign them earlier. But I only remember delight that we'd got them because we knew the effect they were having in our own league. Now, Luke McCowan, you only need to look at what he's done in our own league, particularly over the last season, and go, I'm delighted. We've done what we should have done with Hartley and Robson back then, who joined at 29, years old. We've signed him 3 years earlier than that. But such as the way football sort of changed its mentality, or fans viewing it have changed their mindset, Pam. People are put off by the fact he's 26. I mean, we're not signing him on a 10-year contract. I think it was 3 or 4 years he signed for. I mean, look, if he's turned 30 by the time his current contract's up, these are his prime years we've got him in for. And that bedding in period, he's clearly proved, I think, in his 2 substitute displays so far, he's not going to need the same as perhaps you might need to be able to afford even an Engels, who I think we do need to, as Terry says, forget fees about and go, he's coming from a completely different league, brand new type of football, and is just turned 21. There's going to be moments, you can't expect everything he does just turns to gold straight away. I think with Luke McCowan, there's almost he's a safe pair of boots, for want of a better term, in the fact that I don't think he needs that benefit. It'll be Europe will be the big challenge for him, but let's just make a wee outlandish prediction that he's going to start one of the 8 Champions League games, hopefully one of the 10 Champions League games that we play in this season.
Wholeheartedly agree. I think as football fans, we can be quite fickle. So we see something like that, we automatically think that, oh, it's crap, it's shite, whatever. I'd rather have a 26-year-old who has good experience in the league that, we're aiming to continue dominating in, who understands the teams they're playing, who understands the mechanics of how all the different aspects work, the refereeing, how different team cultures in terms of, are they more defensive? Are they more physical? I'd rather have somebody who's like that and a few years older than a 21-year-old who is just fresh out of, development and can't really say boo to a goose. I would rather have the experience. I think we've gone down that trading model of young, cheap project. I think we've gone down it for too long. I don't think it's served us well really at all, because that's where we focus most of our efforts on. It has not served us well, so I'm really welcome the shift into experience and, knowledge, and somebody who also wants to attack as well, and not somebody who's perhaps new and scared and perhaps maybe even self-doubting when they can fit into the system. Luke McCowan already knows that he can play in the system. He's done it for quite a while. I did make a note that it was an 88-minute goal, and beside my note, I just said he just took the damn shot, because for most of the game, they were not taking any damn shots. They were just passing it around, and it was very frustrating. But McCowan, he had the confidence in himself to just go with the damn shot, and he got the goal. It reminded me a bit of Paulo Bernardo in the cup final. They both had that impetus to just go for it. So I welcome it.
The only problem I had, Bhoycie, with the McCowan deal is why did that need to wait till 11 o'clock on deadline?
Yeah, definitely didn't. No,
that's one could have been done.
I just seen that, mate.
That could have been done the first day of the window. That could have been done first day of the window.
That I don't understand, because at the end of the day, if Engels is based on the O'Reilly one, if you want to push that narrative, I still think we wanted this proper competition in there. Then McCowan's kind of irrelevant to those transactions anyway. So
he could have been in and had a full pre-season. I just don't understand. The
whole dynamic of the match nearly becomes the dream, Terry, from what looked like a bit of a non-event of a football match, if I'm honest. It was a routine thing, but then Ida scores as well, or so we thought. And suddenly you looked at the optics and went, Ida's off the mark, Engels off the mark, McCowan off the mark. I know Ida was there last season alone, but 3 permanent signings, all getting their first goal of the season and a 3-0 win. Fucking hell, this is now dream stuff. I actually happen to, though, just like we were talking about a disallowed goal 2 weeks ago, it had a positive effect on Celtic, and we went and scored, 5 minutes later. I think the disallowed goal that Ida scores today has a positive effect on him, because it's not him who was offside, and he takes his finish upon. The confidence still comes a bit with that. Yeah, there's disappointment it's not stood, but I think there's still enough to be, from a personal point of view for him, enough to be encouraged by keeping things. Any thoughts on that before we move on?
Well, I think it was the best moment of quality in the whole game was Taylor again.
Palmer's offside though. Palmer's offside. It's not really.
How many times did Taylor find himself in attacking positions And there was one earlier in the game where he just totally did not expect the ball to come to him, and he wasn't able to do anything. But that was a moment of quality where Taylor crosses it, and it's that he's done that before, Bhoycie. We've seen that before, where he gets in front of the defender and a flick, and it goes into the net. And it's easy to make the comparisons, and your mind kind of goes to Giakoumakis, where that similar type thing, where just getting in front of the defender, making the run across, and getting in and getting the flick.
That type of goal makes him. Coach, you're absolutely spot on. You're spot on. That is the comparison, Pam. And that was a big void to fill that was never going to be filled by O.
No, he just filled it.
100%. And when
oh my God, you're actually having a laugh signing to replace Giakoumakis.
100%. Eden's goal. Sorry, 100% with you on that. Oh, definitely would not have filled. There would still be a black hole if O was there. When Ida scored today, it looked like an Ida goal from last season. I was really happy for him, and even though it was called offside, I am happy it was because of Palma. I don't have great opinions of Palma right now, but I think the fact it was Palma, didn't really knock Ida's confidence too much. And you can even see it afterwards, even after the game was even after the goal was disallowed. The people, they were still jumping for him. There was still a great atmosphere because he did score that goal. So I think his confidence will be okay going forward. And I hope to see him getting back into the swing of things, because he's been a bit up and down really since the season began. So I hope he's getting to his element now.
Yeah, definitely. We look ahead domestically, Terry. We're joint top. I know we've got the better goal tips. Aberdeen.
Brilliant. Fair play to them. Absolutely love it. I absolutely love it.
Let me take this as well. It's not just the league, mate. They're 10 wins now under him. Out of 10 they've won.
I couldn't believe it. Under this new manager. Fair play to them. Absolutely fair play to them.
This is a good thing to see in the league. I don't like it being a 2-horse race. It's good to see other different teams.
Well, it is. It's just not Rangers as the other one.
You don't like it being a 1-horse race, was what you meant to say, Ham.
True. Sorry, it's a false 2-horse race. If you listen to the media, it's a false.
This is a real 2-horse race. This is
love it. Absolutely love it.
But listen, they're not. It's not just them.
Dundee.
We look to tomorrow, and who's meant to be the rivals, who we beat last time out, are now away from home again to a team that currently sit, I think, 5 points ahead of Dundee United right now. Something like that. 4 points, 5 points. Someone could correct me in the comments. They lose to Dundee United. There's a gulf between them and Dundee United as well. Terry, we were expected to get the result today, right? We were. Because we'd expect to get the result every single time. Yeah. We currently sit 8 points clear of Rangers, as do Aberdeen. Dundee United can build a serious gap in front of them and have started the season so well that ensures Tannadice is going to be packed tomorrow. Absolutely sold out. They go in as a complete mess. I think the chairman's retired today. I don't want to dwell too much on them. But just in terms of our domestic competition, do you see further... Well, they could close the gap by a point, say. Do you see them dropping further points, though, and making the chasm between us and our Glasgow rivals look even more stark come the end of play tomorrow?
Don't. But my way of approaching Rangers games is I just set my stall out. They're going to win, and then anything else is a bonus. That's how I approach them. I think
that's a personal thing, though.
I know it's a personal thing. Let's look at it objectively. It's a banana skin. If you're a Rangers supporter tonight, are you confident your team's going to win tomorrow? No, you're absolutely not. I think they'll probably get the job done. I think it'll be unconvincing. I think there'll be jeopardy at some point where United will score or whatever. I think they'll probably just fudge it and get the points. But see, to be honest, boys, the way we've started this season, and normally my approach is you're interested in both results, but see the way we've got this advantage now that we had over the first 4 games. And I said we're only 4 games in, and people were saying 5 points is nothing. I actually think 5 points is massive after 4 games. And I think we're at the point now where we just need to focus on ourselves. And I'm not really bothered about what they do, because
That's fair enough.
I'm not. I genuinely think this Celtic team, I'm struggling to see at the minute. I'm struggling to see where we.
Isn't it an amazing difference though, Terry? In the space of what, 5 months, that conversation's moved that far. 5 months ago, we were entering into games that were going to define whether we won the league or not, and they were actually playing teams like Ross County and Dundee, where they dropped points that let us sort of capitalise. So it's an incredible turnaround to then say
it's unbelievable. I was sitting here.
When you talk about where you say like, oh, my mindset is not to think it, but then you say, but the difference is that much. I'm not. They don't really. I don't know if they align really to.
But I was sitting here after, and it's quite poignant because Hearts is a team that we struggled against last season, home and away, and I sat on here after we lost to Hearts, and I didn't see any future. I didn't see any future for Brendan Rodgers. I didn't see what the plan was. I didn't see what he was doing. Remember, I sat here and talked about he's standing with his head down. He's got his hands in his pockets. He's chewing gum. He's not doing anything. What's he doing to try and influence the game? I just didn't see. I just seen a black hole. I didn't see any way. If you'd said to me we were going to go on and win that league, we were going to start the next season unbeaten in our first 5 and be wherever we are.
We were unbeaten in our first 15 last year, mate.
I didn't see it, Bhoycie. I just didn't see it. I didn't see. There was long spells last season where I didn't see what we were trying to do. I didn't see what the manager's plan was. Yep. And it all worked out fine in the end. And everything else gets forgotten. But I think for 3/4 of last season, we were questioning a hell of a lot of what was going on. And it was very, very difficult to see what the plan was. Now, the plan has all come together.
Now, Terry, just quickly, because I texted you last night. Sorry to interrupt. But I was texting you, I was watching the Inside.
I text you because I had a few drinks, and then
I knew that.
I only get the phone out. I only get the phone out when I'm drinking.
Trust me, I knew that. Oh no, you didn't need to explain that bit. Trust me, I was well aware of that. I was watching the Inside the Huddle, and 50. I texted you last night, going, it never felt like we started the league last season with 15 league games, 12 wins, 3 draws. So when you say I didn't think we'd start this season with 5 wins out of 5, really? Like, it's so weird because I actually take the rest of your points and agree with them that it never felt like Rodgers had the stamp on it. Then you watch something like that and you see these mad stats that can just completely fuck your head up. Do you know what I mean? When you see them. Anyway,
these things are so funny though. Them things are so funny because obviously he knows the camera's on him. Them team talks. That doesn't happen every week. That team talk.
How do you know? I
just know. That's if you know the camera's on. If you know the camera, well, align it to something in your work. If you're talking to somebody in your work and nobody's watching, you talk to them differently. But if you know your boss is on the call and he's watching in the background, you behave differently. When there's a camera on, that whole thing's staged. See the whole Ange video. We don't stop. It's just pure staged and it's great. And I buy into it. I absolutely love it. And I haven't watched this thing yet, but I am going to watch it.
You'll enjoy it.
I'll watch it and I'll just be sitting there buying into the whole thing. And
but see, you've now went on to the scripts. I was talking about the facts though. Like you said, if you told me we'd win, the first 5 games out of 5, but last year, unbeaten in the first 15, 12 wins, 3 draws. It was a not bad start to the season last year either, albeit when you go back to it,
I'm talking about the point where we were behind and we were second favourites.
Right. But I'm talking about what you said. You said if you told me we'd win our first 5 this year, and I'm saying
no.
Well, we started last year with a bet.
No, I said to you when we were at the point last season where we couldn't see what was the plan or anything. So I'm talking about the point where Rangers were favourites, which was probably with 7 games to go. 6 games to go. At that point, if you told me we're going to get this thing over the line and we're going to go out and win our first 5 games of the season, and Kasper Schmeichel's going to be sitting on a deck chair with a cigar, I couldn't have seen that coming.
1906.
I couldn't have seen that coming.
1906, that record of your first 5 domestic league games in Scotland, and you get to clean sheet them all.
He must be wondering what he's landed himself in. Do you know what I mean, Kasper Schmeichel? Fuck's sake.
Nah, the real stuff starts though. The real stuff starts, Pam, midweek. And trust me, Schmeichel,
100%.
even against Bratislava, won't have it all his own way. How excited are you for Wednesday? Did today's performance, just to wrap up, does that give you more confidence going into Wednesday? Will it be more of the same? Has Brendan got a sort of settled side right now, and it's up to those who want to get in it to really excel to do so? Will he go horses for courses and think that, I want to be as creative as possible? And that might, I know many were in the chat at the start today thinking that Atati could be the one who's sort of sacrificed for Wednesday. It wouldn't surprise me if Atati plays for his creative sort of attributes that he brings, considering this is, to me, the must-win game is this one. This is your must-win. If you don't get 3 points in a home game against Bratislava, then, and what a way to start the campaign as well. But where are you at with Wednesday? Are you going in, more confidence than hope is probably where I'm at in terms of Wednesday's match. I'm not saying the whole thing, but even as a whole, I've got more confidence this time than hope than I've had for years being in the Champions League. Whereabouts are you at?
I mean, generally, I am quite pessimistic about Champions League, but I think definitely compared to where we were last year, I feel better about where we are going into it. As we were harping back to what we said in the beginning, I don't think this game was a good indicator of, who are we playing necessarily, because, international players, they are still recovering. So I think, by Monday, Tuesday, I will be feeling even more confident because, people, the players will have time to, rest up and really get into gear. I think Brendan will go for it. He will go for the strongest starting 11 possible that he can do. I think there will be good substitutes made as well throughout the game, to give some fresh legs to it.
It's got to be aggressive in the mindset as well, doesn't it? Because I think you take Atati out. If you went Engels, Bernardo, Kalmak, that to me looks like a midfield that would be more suited to away from home, Dortmund, Atlanta. I think Atati has to start, Terry, for me, this one, because this is one where not only about picking your strongest lineup, Pam, I think right now we're well in agreement. We don't know what necessarily the strongest 11 is. We need the best 11 for the fixture that we're about to enter into when it comes to this level of competition. And for me, that looks to me like you need your more creative player like Atati as one of your midfield three. Terry, I don't know what you think on that, but for me, we've got to be ambitious in this game. I do think it'll be the ones I listed there for the away games against Atalanta and Dortmund. I think it'll be Kalmak, Bernardo, and Engels. But I think this one at home, you've got to have Atati in there, mate. We need to unlock the door. We need to start in the front foot. We need to be ambitious and aggressive in the type of passes we go for. If they don't come off, so be it. But we need to be the one asking the questions in this fixture. And then the other games, you maybe then play players that can answer questions a wee bit better, more suited to that. But this one, it has to be someone like Atati who could have 1 out of 10 passes completed. But the 10 passes he's trying to complete are killer passes. Do you know what I mean?
I think that's the thing, Bhoycie. This game, and I think people don't really pay any attention to how they order these games and come out. But there are people on behalf of the club that are in there negotiating which fixture to play first and stuff. And whoever's done that for Celtic has done a good job, because this is the key fixture for us in this revamped Champions League. This is the game we have to win. This is the one. If we don't win on Wednesday night, we probably don't get through after Christmas, because this is the one. This is the one game that we have to win. It's a must win. It's a must win, and we don't start the game. And the thing I'm not sure about yet, and if anybody is sure about it, I don't know how they are. Listen, we've spent 11 million on Engels. I would challenge anybody to say they heard of Arne Engels 3 months ago. We don't know what he is. We don't know what. You can look at his stats. If I look at his stats from last season, he didn't score many. He didn't assist many. That tells me he's the 6. Looking at him today, I'm still not totally convinced. I think he could be the 6 or he could be the 8. I'm not convinced he's the 10. And where's the creativity coming from? Where's the key passes coming from? He might well prove to be, and he's young enough to have that development. But what is he? What is this guy that we've spent 11 million on? Is he a 6? Is he an 8? Is he a 10? Is he just a hybrid of all? We don't really know yet, and we won't know. We won't know. Maybe we might not even know by the end of the season. We might not even know for 2 or 3 years what his exact role is and where his key attributes are. But I think this game on Wednesday night is one we have to win, and I don't think we can afford to go in there with Bernardo, McGregor, and Engels. I think Hatate has to play. We have to go for it.
We need to go for it.
We've got to win this game. If we don't win this game, all of a sudden, all the hope and all the feel-good factor that we've had from the start of the season, all of a sudden that becomes a burst balloon if we don't get 3 points on Wednesday night. I fully expect us to. I genuinely think today there's so much mitigation for today's performance. It wasn't perfect. The most important thing is we got the job done and we got the points. I expect us to be absolutely flat to the mat from the first whistle Wednesday night, full throttle. I think we'll do this, team. I think we'll totally overrun them.
It has to happen, mate.
We'll totally overrun them. We'll batter them. I genuinely do. I think we'll batter this team.
I need to go, by the way. I'm not being rude. I need to go. I forgot. 3 people are just back for the game. They're coming to my bit for a few drinks, but I forgot we were half an hour later. So I was like, what do you mean you're outside? And they're like,
bring them on.
They're like that. No, they're outside. They're locked out. They're locked.
Well, you left me stand at your door one time for about half an hour.
At 9 in the morning, Terry, when you were pissed already for the night before. Yeah, I remember it well.
Oh.
Right, I'm away. I will see you all later. Pam, Terry, thank you so much. Have a great evening, everyone. Cheers. Hail, hail. See you.